They don't even know they're calling us fascists. Do they not realize that fascism is happening to them right now? They're being indoctrinated. Yeah. And then I also think too, what is your end game? So what? Let's just say that all the Jews were gone, that, you know what, Palestine was a country. Do you think your life is going to get better? Like, they don't realize what the end game is. And I think that's another reason why I think that living here is a very scary place. I don't think that people realize the change that they want is a change not for the better, it's for the worse.
But Dr. Right. Mordecai Kedar, who was just here, who's a specialist in Islam, he told me, Ronan, you don't have more than 5 years left in Canada before it will be impossible for Jews to live there. And this is not coming from my mouth. It's a specialist. He said maximum 5 years.
So this is the other thing too. So do I want to leave while my property is still worth something? Or do I want to leave when I'm going to I can only afford the plane ticket?
What is the future, in your view, to Canadian Jews?
I don't think there is a future here. How's that? I could go into a whole spiel, but I'll say this. I don't think there's a future here for us in the long term.
פרספקטיבה, הערוץ הישראלי בצפון אמריקה, משודר בחסות BH Group. Designing your future. נדל"ן in מיאמי. אייל מלמד, מומחה נדל"ן לישראלים במיימי, פלורידה. סיגר, Custom Builders. רונן אברג'יל, מספרת הבוטיק שלך ברחוב ים. פרספקטיבה TV, see the story come alive.
Shalom. Anti-Semitism in Canada. Nothing new. It's been discussed all over. But Canadian Jews are now thinking, what are we going to do next? Are we going to stay here? Are we going to relocate? And if so, where? Obviously, Israel is the most preferred option to make an aliyah, but there are other options. Many Canadian Jews are selling their properties, selling their business, and relocating to the US. Of course, there's a visa question. Some are even thinking of moving to Oklahoma. There's a new initiative of moving Canadian Jewry to Oklahoma. We're going to talk about that as well. But today we have a very unique point of view, a very unique perspective that started in a post on Everything Jewish Toronto, probably the biggest Jewish page on Facebook here in Canada. So with us today is Mandy Rubinoff, who actually posted that post. Mandy, shalom, how are you?
Shalom, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Tell me shortly, what was your post all about?
So it was more just about the fact that I felt there's been a lot of patterns I found in Toronto that are similar to ones that I've heard about that have happened around 90 years ago in Germany. I find it was a very slow process. I developed a word for it called laterna, which is basically, it means like boiling like a frog. It comes from the word lent, which means stickiness, and not realizing how much when it's something sticking together, it can't really be pulled apart as easily the more that it sticks together. So it's a buildup. Listen, I don't think that anyone's going to be thrown into a concentration camp anytime soon. Okay, that's
Hopefully
not going to
happen. Hopefully not.
Probably not.
Probably
but
not.
What I think will happen is many things. I think it's going to be where we will be destabilized by taxes, by not feeling safe in our areas more than we are now.
Will be or already in that situation?
We already are. But right now, what I'm saying is that like even 5 years ago, if something where, for instance, every week they go down on a Sunday to Bathurst and Shepherd and they're protesting. And then after a while, Jewish people didn't want to go anymore after the hostages were released. So then what do? They start going and infiltrating the neighborhoods. They start at Bathurst and Shepherd. Now, maybe later on they're going to be going down to Forest Hill. I don't know. Maybe they don't have, sort of say, the balls to do that yet because it's more of an affluent area.
By the way, sorry for interrupting, but Jews already moved in Toronto. Jews used to live downtown, and then they moved north. So, but let me be more accurate with you, because you didn't just write about the situation and the rise in anti-Semitism. Everybody writes about that. You gave an idea You have a new concept. Please tell me about that idea and concept.
So I will say this though too, and again, you can always just reel me back in. So what I was saying is that like, yeah, you were saying about Israel and going into Florida, because that's one of the places. Obviously, New York's out of the question now.
Mandani.
But I was just like thinking about a place where maybe it's American, not American-ish, but not as expensive as the States, and somewhere where there's absolutely very little anti-Semitism at all from what I've read, and that's Panama. And
Panama.
the reason, yes,
Panama
it's
in South America, in Central America.
that's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Have you ever been to Panama?
I have never been to Panama.
Do you speak
ever.
Spanish?
I do not speak Spanish.
Do you know
I don't
anyone
know.
in Panama? I mean, where did
No.
that idea come from?
Okay, so I was just looking at different areas in the world, and literally I went on ChatGPT, not really the best source. But I
Oh,
was just
ChatGPT gave you the idea.
ChatGPT to begin with. And I was just saying, where in the world has it been where Jews feel safe? That was it, the top 10 places.
And
And it
ChatGPT
said-
said Panama.
ChatGPT, one of the places it said was Panama and Costa Rica, but then I just left it alone. But then I saw that of all the places in that area, the one that seems the most like would be a Miami, but also has the American school system in place and has it where there's a strong Jewish community is in Panama. So I just also thought too that, this is another thing that I realized there, that I believe there's 200,000 Ashkenazi Jews, or just Jews in general, in Toronto. So there's about 30 or 40 kosher stores, restaurants, whatnot. The exact same amount of
In
restaurants
Panama?
are in
Really?
Panama.
Okay, we're gonna
Yes,
find
and there's
find
only
that out.
15,000.
Hold on. We're gonna find that out.
I found doing the research. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I haven't done the research, but we're going to find that out because Mandy, after reading your post and reading I think you received more than 200 comments on that post, right?
Yes.
Roughly 200 or even more. You really advocated for Jewish people to move to Panama. So I took that post really seriously, okay? I wasn't just reading and giving you a like. I called you, we talked, I invited you to the podcast, but I did something extra. I invited a member of the Jewish community in Panama, who is right now here with us on this podcast. Please meet Moti Chen from Panama. Shalom, Moti.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
We're
So
fine.
nice to meet you.
Moti, as you heard, Mandy brought the idea for Jewish people, there's 400,000 Jews in Canada, to move to Panama. Please, you've been there, 40 years already?
45 years, and she is right what she say. We have percent more restaurant for each other of Jewish more they all around the world.
So tell us a
More
little bit about
restaurant from each one.
Tell us a little bit about the Jewish community in Panama. How friendly it is, or how friendly Panama is to the Jewish people.
First of all, we are very free here. The people here can go as you go, like in Israel, you can go with tzitzit outside, with the kippah, with everything. We keep.
Can I
all
go with my
the-
Magen David in the street?
No any.
No
any
harassment?
problem. I say tzitzit. You say Magen David, I say tzitzit. No Magen David. It's better. No any problem with the people. We lived together many years ago. No any problem with the Islam people here in Panama. Nothing.
But you know,
Anyway,
Moti, hold on. One of the biggest problems we have in Toronto is our mayor, Olivia Chow. She's not Muslim, she's Chinese, but she's very pro-Muslims, much more than she's pro the Jewish community who's been there for hundreds of years. What is the situation in terms of the mayor of Panama City, for example?
His name is Meir Mizrahi. Meir Mizrahi. It's meaning Jewish.
A Jewish mayor.
Yes.
Mandy, I'm beginning to suspect that you're right, but let's hear more.
She's right 100%. What say
She's right.
JGPT, it's right 100%. It's true. It's very easy. The Jewish here do whatever. The Jewish control the country. Let's say like this. Here, if you say Yom Kippur, all the country it's closed. You don't do nothing. Even the bank, in the shopping sector, everything it's closed. The respect. Another thing that the Panamanians like, it's evangelic people. They like very much the Jewish people here. Then they like the people, they respect the people, they like the Jewish give them work and everything. Really from Jewish now, what you see in the world here is, wow.
The safest.
It's paradise.
Mandy, tell me a little bit about the reactions you received to that post, because obviously the natural thing for Jewish people to do would be to move to Israel.
Yes, so I think so. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with moving to Israel, but I also think too, and I want to say this as well. One of the things that I also wrote the post for, it's very important, this isn't an insult towards Panamanian Jews, is that from what I read, is that a lot of them are more observant Syrian Jews, right? So I was also saying as well, is that maybe even if 200 families thought of maybe moving there just to see what it's about, Ashkenazi, so it could be more of a reformed type of community as well, right? Just so, because and as much as I didn't put this in the post, maybe even doing it where you can go for like a timeshare, or like a small group could have a little community there, right? Because I feel that's one of the things was the apprehensiveness is that some people said, oh, I won't learn the language. I feel safe here. We have to defend ourselves here. And I just felt like that was the same thing that they said in 1930 in
Europe.
Germany, right? And again, I don't think that we're going to the gas chambers, but I think what's going to happen is they're going to
delegitimize.
Thank you, Jews here. Okay, they're already doing it.
Moti, what is the balance of the Jewish community in Panama in terms of Ashkenazi, Sephardic, as Mandy mentioned?
Okay, many years ago, the Sephardi was control everything, even don't allowed to make Chabad here. Today, we are more or less the same. The Ashkenazi have everything. Only to tell you, we have 3 Chabad in Panama. 2 in Panama City, 1 it's in Venao, 1 it's in Boca del Toro, 5, and 1 in Boquete. Imagine, this country, small country, we have 5 Chabad. Then it means you have everything. We have 2 synagogues to the Ashkenazi, and we have 4 synagogues from the Sephardi. They are mixed together. They will live together. You can go to the supermarket and you see shchita like this and shchita like this. You have everything
Butchery.
to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is the Jewish community in Panama united, or is it divided?
I think it's united, very united.
United.
They are all together, like they celebrate the party together and everything. You come in Yom Ha'atzmaut in Panama, you see the Sephardi and Ashkenazi together, no any problem. If you have a Chatuna, you see everybody together. Always.
Yeah. And it's amazing, Mandy, it's amazing. He mentions so many establishments like Chabad and all that, and there's only 10,000 Jews in Panama. That's it. Am I right, Moti? 10,000?
I think because they are Halabi, they don't want to say never the number of the people, but we have more or less around 20, what I think.
Around 20,000.
Yes, don't forget what happened in Venezuela. After there is a problem with Venezuela, a lot of people from Venezuela immigrate to Panama. Then we have a lot of Jewish from Venezuela in Panama. That is the community is more than the 30% from what it was before.
Yeah, Venezuela is on the headlines today for a different reason because of Maduro, but we're not going to get into that right now. Mandy, please continue.
But what I was going to say,
Mandy.
What I was going to say also is that I remember hearing something about when Israel was first formed, right? the Ashkenazis brought on the Mizrahi Jews from the other countries. They saved them. And then the Mizrahi Jews brought in the Ethiopian Jews. So we are a community, and we do thrive because we help one another, whether in fact we are Sephardic, we are Ashkenazi, right? I find that's what makes us thrive, is helping one another.
Of course.
And the other thing too is that if you look at history, any place where the Jewish community goes to, it thrives. I don't understand why these governments right now are trying to not have us be thriving in their communities. Wherever they go, wherever we go, it only gets better, right? So why they are doing that?
Tell that to Carney. Tell that to Carney.
Well, again, we had a conversation about that. I don't want to bring it in now, but I believe that, if we went to a community and started off now where the prices are very reasonable, you get a beautiful place. Like I looked at a place called Punta Pacifica. You can get a place that you pay half the price as if you lived in Yorkville and you're looking over the ocean, and it's twice the size. You can live like a millionaire, and it seems to me something that a great option. And again, as we were discussing as well, it's not about me, right? I'm a grown woman. It's about my son who's 10 years old, and what the opportunities for him. And might as well go there while he's still young. He could learn the language. He could teach me. I'm sure that a woman from Hungary in 1930 wasn't thinking, I don't know how to learn English, or knew rumblings about her in 1932. When she knew that it was time to leave with her children and her husband, she had to learn and adapt. That's all I'm saying.
Do you honestly think we're in that moment? We're in that moment right now here in Canada?
As I said before, I think it's like Laterna. I think it's we're letting the frog boil and we don't even realizing it. We don't realize it. And the problem is that people get very comfortable and they don't want to leave. I think there's something in the Torah about that too, that it says that we get very comfortable and we don't want to leave. And that is not good for our community, and it's not good for our children.
A big part of the problem here in Canada is the Muslim immigration. Now, obviously, not all Muslims are bad, and we don't want to sound obviously racist, of course not. But unfortunately, a large portion of the Muslims population here in Canada is very anti-Israel and anti-Jewish. Moti, what is the situation in terms of the conflicts between the Jews and the Muslims in Panama?
I think nothing. We don't even feel them. Each one do whatever he wants. We cannot touch with each other. Only within the business. Normally, the business, the Jewish sell wholesale, and the Arab people sell from the people. But we don't touch with them nothing. Nothing, but they live there and we live there. Normally, the Arab people live out of the city, of the capital of Panama City. They live outside, most of them, not in Panama City.
And what is the relations between the Israeli government and the Panama government? Is it good relation, diplomatic relations?
Imagine if we have Maya Mizrahi, it's excellent. It's not from now. All around, all of this time, Panama and Israel was excellent relation.
I have a question.
Imagine the ambassador of Panama and Israel. It's an Israeli guy.
Wow. Yeah, Mandy, you had a question for Moti?
Ezra Cohen, it's them. It's in Israel, and it's ambassador from Panama in Israel. What do you want more?
I have a question for Moti about the Free Palestine movement. Is there parades there? I call them parades. Protests there?
Exactly.
Is there that kind of environment there?
Look, it was once or twice that they do it, and they don't do it more because they tell them, here in Panama, we don't want the problem. I can tell you something. In this end of the year, I am a tourist guide, and I have customers, they come. And they come customers from outside, and the child of this country with Free Palestine is his shirt. Right away, we go to the hotel and we say, look this guy, and say, please don't use it here, we don't want a problem. That's all. in the hotel.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, is that you see that
I hope they don't come here. I hope. And I live in the place there. It's Arab. I'm the only Jewish in the place that I live. Around me, it's all Arab, and I don't have any problem. I live here 20 years. Any problem? And
Moti, you're married to a Panama woman, right? To a Panamanian woman.
yes,
No?
and I work with Arab people, and they know that I'm Israeli.
And no problem. There's no problem.
Look, I have mezuzah in my wall. I have outside my place. It's named Kibbutz Derita in Hebrew. Kibbutz Derita in Hebrew. I don't friend, and I live in David. I don't live in Panama City.
Yeah.
So what I find too is that when a society is doing well, people leave the Jews alone. It's when the society starts
Declines.
depreciating, that's who they blame, right?
That's how it happened in Germany, and that's what's happening now in Canada.
So that's what I'm saying. So if a country that's starting to thrive in is probably going to be even better now, going to be better in 20 years than it would be now, like Panama, then the more that it thrives, why would they want to cause problems? I think there's a lot of corruption, and I said this to you before, in our country. I think that there's money that we don't know about that's being spent without us knowing. And I really do believe that this is a way for them to try and what's the word I'm looking for? To take away the government to use us as a scapegoat, right? So this is, anyways.
Okay, Mandy, I have a few more questions for you regarding that post, but I want to thank Moti first. Moti, toda rabba for your insight, and I'm still waiting for your invitation to come and visit you over there in Panama. But toda rabba.
Everybody can come to Panama. Very, very nice country.
Moti, thank you very much. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
You too. Okay, Mandy, I want to ask you another question. It's a little bit hard for me as an Israeli to listen to how you advocate to move out to anywhere else but Israel. And I'm sure you can understand that. I mean, I also live here in Canada, but my heart and soul and my family and everyone are in Israel, and I know I will go back eventually after I'm done with my shlichut here, with my mission here. But don't you feel that if you're already considering a move, if you're already going to schlep your family, so you might as well move to your home, which is Israel? Give me a little bit of a sneak peek into your thought process about this.
Listen, I've been to Israel, and I went a long time ago. I went, if you can believe it, I went when there was a Hard Rock Cafe in Tel Aviv on Ben Yehuda Street, just to age me how long ago I went, okay? And I went at a time where it was like the golden times, supposedly, where there was very little tension. And I'm not saying, I really do believe Israel is going to be saved. I do believe that all of this stuff, I believe in the Torah, and that in fact that we do have we're safe. But with that being said, I do find that when you're there's a lot of things of the political unrest that it does concern me. I also, just with the fact that there is the cost of living is very high in certain areas, and I just feel that for me it would be a huge culture shock to go there. I'm not saying it's not out of the question, but also I also find if I ever wanted to just go back and forth from Toronto to Israel, it may be a little bit harder to do, and I do have family here. And
so wait, it's more of a culture shock to move from Toronto to Tel Aviv, a totally modernized Western city, rather than move to Panama? That's what you're saying? That's a little bit hard to...
I don't know. If you want to know the truth, I think it's more just about the fact of like the political unrest and just being surrounded by all these Arab countries. It kind of scares me. I'll be honest, it does. It does, and
What would
I
it
really
take? What would it take for Israel as a country, as a place, as an idea? What would it take to convince you that Israel is the right place for you?
I guess more. Huh. I guess it would be like the affordability. For instance, I was just speaking to a person who said, if you want to move to Tel Aviv, if you think you're going to get anything for less than $3 million, that's half decent. You're sadly mistaken, right? And
That's a bit exaggerated. I think it's a little bit a little bit.
Right, but in any event, I don't have $1 million right now. So maybe one day, God willing, but I don't. It's just even like so. It's just.
But when you think about your child, you told me you're thinking about you obviously
Yes,
you're
I do.
so do you think your child would be safer in Panama than in Israel?
I haven't thought of it. I really haven't. I think that it's not something that I maybe I should take a trip to both and see how I feel. I think the reason why I just thought Panama was that I thought it was just more of it's a little bit closer to Toronto. It's not that large of a plane ride, and that you could build a whole community there. It seems not as expensive there. Little things like that, right? And again, I haven't been to Israel for over 30 years, so
Oh my
I don't
God,
really.
it's like you've never been there. 30 years ago, that's a totally different. It's totally different now.
Right, the last time I went to, I told you there was a Hara Cafe in. I
Yeah.
think that was what year was that? I think it was 1995. So just to let you know,
Right.
how long is it?
Another thing I want to ask you, as a Jewish Canadian, you're a yoga teacher, right? Have you
Yes.
felt any? I mean, what has changed in your life as a Jewish yoga teacher in Toronto, in terms of anti-Semitism and all that? Has anything changed at all, or it's just a social media talk?
Well, I have to say there hasn't. I live. So this is the other thing too, is I live in a bubble, right? I don't really go far out of my community, right? But yes, when I go downtown and every Friday at 4 p.m. at Yonge and Bloor, there's that protest, right? I I also when I'm walking downtown, I'm well aware whether I have my Magen David on or not. And again, is it maybe in my head? I don't know. But I also think that I do feel there's a bit of a shift, right? I do say though that I'm very proud to be Jewish, and I won't hide it at all. And I'm also one that's very diplomatic to other people's feelings and so forth. I think that the problem is there's lack of education and too much what would the right word be? Kid gloves on what's going on here in Canada, right? For instance, that incident with TMU. Give a perfect example. On the news, they say allege this happened, right? They say that supposedly that this soldier went and accosted these Palestinian protesters. They won't allow for the school to be able to have this person on campus. They had to do it off campus. Infiltrate, as we said before, infiltrating our neighborhoods. What was another thing? Not being able to go to certain areas where, like like for instance, I know that my boyfriend's son said that he won't go to Yorkdale without with a Magen David on, right? Like that is so ridiculous. And just little things. Or my friend who wears a kippah, he said that someone yelled at him, "Dirty Jew." Or what happened
Here
when
in Toronto? In Toronto?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But what I'm saying is that, and then there's all these incidents that aren't reported. I also read a thing.
You know,
Yeah,
I
go
grew
ahead.
up in Israel, right? I got here when I was 45 years old, 11 years ago. I've never, in my whole life in Israel, I was never called a dirty Jew. Never. You know, the only time I heard this expression, I actually heard this expression twice. Once from my father, who grew up in Berlin before the Second World War. He heard the dirty Jew many times. And the second time was when I moved here. I never heard that in Israel. So that explains you a little bit about, you know, feeling belong and safety and all that.
Right. And yeah, I guess it's also another thing too. It really scared me because I did grow up in a way where you don't think it's going to happen here. And it's very scary when you see the tide shift, right? Like, I think there's a soul sickness. And I think that the soul sickness is to deflect from really what's going on in this corrupt government. That's the word I was looking for before too. They're deflecting from what's going on and they just want votes. And the other thing too is they're also, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not, but this community, like Gen Z, that not community, this era, they've been indoors during COVID in their formative years, right? They don't know how to socialize properly. They're keyboard warriors, right? And what I find too is that a lot of these children, they're living at home with their parents because of mass emigration. They don't know how to socialize. They're not dating each other for a variety of reasons.
That's another big issue here. The Jewish marriage and the interracial and all that. That's a big subject.
Right. So all of these things are creating these very angry 20 to 25, 30-year-olds. And as I was saying before, I think it's almost like this is the same thing that happened 50 years ago in Iran, right?
Before the revolution.
Yes. And they wanted to hear, they're saying intifada now. Do you even know what it means? They don't even know they're calling us fascists. Do they not realize that fascism is happening to them right now? They're being indoctrinated. Yeah. And then I also think too, what is your end game? So what? Let's just say that all the Jews were gone, that, you know what, Palestine was a country. Do you think your life is going to get better? Like, they don't realize what the end game is. And I think that's another reason why I think that living here is a very scary place. I don't think that people realize the change that they want is a change not for the better, it's for the worse.
But you know, I've read some of the comments on your post, and I've been receiving some comments on my post regarding this issue. And many Canadians, or even Israelis that have been here for a long time, they think that it's an exaggeration, that it's not that bad, that it could be much worse and it's not there, that it's a social media issue, but not in real life. And I sometimes feel that it's like, the image of the three monkeys. One doesn't see, one doesn't hear, and one doesn't say anything. I feel that the Canadian Jewish community, in a way, is a little bit like that. They don't understand the gravity of the situation. And it's a severe situation. It's never been as bad as it is now. I'll share with you another insight. Yesterday, I had a chat with a friend who had a big business here in Thornhill for, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 years, an Israeli guy who moved here with his family when he was young. I called him because I needed his service. So I call him and he tells me, Ronen, I'm not in Canada anymore. I'm like, where are you, Avi? His name is Avi. He said, I'm in Port Lauderdale. He went to Florida.
Did he have a car, please?
No. A different business. Okay. No, there's many Avis. Avis is a common name, okay? I won't share details because I didn't ask his permission, but, so he already moved, and I asked him, when did you move? When did you do that? He said he moved 2 years ago already, when it wasn't as bad as it is now, but he could sense it. He could see it coming. Because in a way, and please don't take it wrong, not you and not our Canadian audience, I think there's something very naive about Canadian Jews. They're amazing people, they're good people, they're sensitive, but they're a little bit naive. And there's something more or less naive in us Israelis because we lived through all those scenarios already. So in a way, I think that Canadian Jewry doesn't understand the moment. They don't get the moment, and look what's happening around. Look at New York with Mamdani. Look at Olivia Chow here in Toronto. Everything's closing on us.
Exactly. Like what would happen if in fact that one mosque was vandalized 10 times in less than 1 year? What happens if not Jews, just normal Canadians work to infiltrate an area that's mostly Muslim and going, the Quran is not real, Muhammad is whatever.
Canada would go crazy about it.
Right? What would happen? What happens if there was a Muslim coming in and talking about free Palestine, and that in fact that we, not just Jews, I'm just saying anyone would come and start beating him up? What would happen? why is it that and keep in mind too, we're a very small community.
Yeah, and we ourselves minimalize those incidents.
Right.
We ourselves don't want to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, it's like it never happened.
I always said this is, what do they say? We have like we have like the government is like the British government, but our culture is like cultures, but I'm saying that part of us is a very British side. Like, oh, we want to just be nice and cake. And look what's going on there right now.
In
right?
England. England has been conquered already by Islam, by radical Islam.
Right. Exactly. So, I have a friend as well that said, what are you going to do if like a bunch of Muslims, like they start going to Forest Hill and they start making a lot of money, and in 30 years from now, they're like, no, this area is now Muslim and we're going to be practicing Sharia law. And
less than 30 years, 5 years. I've talked to an Israeli scholar. He's been here a lot.
Property goes down.
Property is already going down. But Dr. Mordecai Kedar, who was just here, who's a specialist in Islam, he told me, Ronan, you don't have more than 5 years left in Canada before it will be impossible for Jews to live there. And this is not coming from my mouth. It's a specialist. He said maximum 5 years, and you won't be able to live there anymore, like in France or in England.
So this is the other thing too. So do I want to leave while my property is still worth something, or do I want to leave when I'm gonna I can only afford the plane ticket to get out? Like,
now, what about the notion of we're gonna fight back? We're not gonna let them dictate our lives. What about that?
With what?
With
What are we fighting back about? Writing letters that are just being. How many letters have we written? Hold on. What about that guy? What's his name? The one that got killed. The rabbi in Bondi Beach. Should he not write a letter to the prime minister? And where is he now? So there's so many letters you can write. There's so much you can do. It seems to me you have to act like an animal in order to get your voice heard these days. And that's why that I think that people are scared of the Muslims. And also I remember watching something too, where people that were at that infiltrated the Bathurst and Shepherd area, they were doing the protest, and then some of the people that were the pro-Israel side went on the Palestinian side, and the policeman said, you must go over on that side because it's a free country. I can go on this side, and they arrested him because he said that you're gonna make them go crazy. You're causing more problems. It's like almost like placating to a little child, right?
Even the police is not on our side anymore.
They are not on our side. So if they're not on our side right now, what's it going to be like? And as you said, 5 years from now, when they don't. At one point, my son, he goes to a private school, and I cannot walk into that
private Jewish school. Jewish school.
I cannot walk in. No, yes, a Jewish school. Well, I don't want to say it, but I'll just say that there's things that have happened that they don't talk about on the news in that area.
Oh, okay? Of course.
Right. And the thing is that when I went to Leobeck when I was a little girl, my mother just walked in. You can't do that now. You could probably do that in some schools in Toronto, not my school, right? So, not my son's school, excuse me. So it's like these little things that just keep happening. And what's going to happen? By the way, there's a police officer every day there. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a bomb threat there, and then they're going to have 2 police officers. And then after a while, Chow or whoever will be in charge in 5 years will say, we can't afford it anymore. You guys have to pay for it. That's what they do. I call it the silent Holocaust.
The silent Holocaust.
Yeah. Right?
So what are you doing, Mandy? Because I read in your post that you try to convince your partner, your boyfriend, but is there a success in that?
No. So that's the whole thing, which I'm not going to discuss on this podcast. But you know what? Maybe what I could do is I think what I may do is for Passover, maybe my son and I will go down. Also, just maybe also
go down where? To Panama or to Israel? Oh, to Panama.
Well, maybe we'll do that. Well, so I'm thinking we'll do Israel for his bar mitzvah, but we definitely will go to Panama and just check it out. And just speaking to other to other people that have contacted me privately And maybe we can all just figure out a way to, like, as I said, maybe get a timeshare together, something. I don't know. Again, this was all blue sky. I did this only because I just want to kind of put the seed there, right?
Did you plan all this, or it just came out spontaneously?
Yeah, I'm not a spontaneous person like that. I've heard not. Oh, you know what happened is that I think that someone posted somewhere else about something about moving out of Toronto, and then someone wrote, "Oh, go to Panama," and then I was going to write a thing, and then it got a little too long when I was writing. So I'm like, I'm just going to write my own post about it. That was pretty much how.
And what did your partner say about it? Was he surprised? Or does he know your views? Not surprised with you.
He knows my views already. He thinks I'm a little ridiculous, but he thinks it's funny as well.
Do you consider yourself Zionist?
Of course, I consider myself a Zionist.
Even though you're considering moving to Panama.
The only reason why the Panama is it's because of the again, that could be the media, but I think it's just because of where it's surrounded in the Middle East.
Because Zionist is the desire for Zion, as you know.
Yes.
Zion,
I will tell you,
meaning Israel.
So I will tell you something else too. My mother's mother, she was raised Orthodox, right? She actually grew up, I think, in Winnipeg. And she moved to Toronto, and but she always had the desire to go to Israel, but she never was able to go. And she had got breast cancer, I think, when she was 54, and unfortunately she passed away, but she was buried in Israel. And my sister actually went there and saw her there. So I think that maybe
that was like her last wish, her will, to be buried in Israel.
Yes. Yeah, and this was like 1974 when she passed away. So you could just imagine there's something there, maybe telling me to go there. I believe in signs and spirituality, so you never know what the future holds. I do believe that if we really listen to our inner voice and we pray about it, things just happen. But of course, we have to do the work as well. We're not just going to end up there.
Tell me, Mandy, what do you know about the Oklahoma initiative?
I heard a little bit about that. So it's about building like a neighborhood there, right? Like with a bunch of Ashkenazi Jews, and it's like in the middle of nowhere, and they're trying to build that to be their own sort of environment.
And it's sponsored by the Oklahoma Jewish Federation, apparently.
Right. So, okay, so I'll be devil's advocate on this. I think something's going to happen where they're going to get very successful, and somebody's going to get quite jealous, and it's going to be, again, who knows what happens, but that's usually what happens. Hold on. That's what happened before Israel was formed. They would build these little communities, and then the Arabs would go into those communities, and they would infiltrate them because what they were doing wasn't working, and they would take it over, and they would kick out the Jews, right? What did that happen over and over again? Yep. Right?
Yeah.
So,
what is the future, in your view, to Canadian Jews?
I don't think there is a future here. How's that? I could go into a whole spiel, but I'll say this. I don't think there's a future here for us in the long term. I don't think so. I don't think that as Jews, this is the place where we're going to be accepted and loved like we were in the 1970s, 80s, or 90s. I think we really have to think about moving forward, in my opinion. That's just it. But I will say this, is that I said this to someone before. I do believe in about 40 years from now, the East will become West and the West will become East. Just look I said this to someone 6 months ago. I'm telling you, Iran, something's going to happen. And now look what's happening, right? I really do believe that. I believe that in the East, they realize their way isn't working, and things are going to change.
And another question, how do you think, how much do you think your opinion represents the opinion of other Canadian Jews?
I think a very small amount. I think we're
a small amount. So you think your opinion does not represent the majority of the Jews here?
No.
So the majority thinks that it will get better. It's a passing trend, and everything will be okay.
Black Lives Matter. They think it's a phase. And it's not a phase, because and this is another thing I want to make quite clear as well, with the Black Lives Matter or with any other of those things that went on, it's very trendy and they don't last very long. Usually they last maybe a year or two. This is getting worse. This isn't dying down. I really thought that after the hostages were released, it would die down. It's getting more violent, and it's not just the Jews, it's the Christians too. They don't even have Christmas in France and in England this year. They're like the most
Because they don't want to hurt the feelings of the Muslims.
It's not even hurt the feelings.
Ridiculous.
You don't want to spend the money on the chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And that's what it's about. Anyway.
Mandy, I can totally imagine a yoga class in a forest in Panama with Moti. I can totally imagine that.
If not, in Tel Aviv.
Moti, are you still with us? Are you still listening? Wait. Moti, are you still with us over there?
I'm still here.
You're still here. What are your final thoughts to close this discussion?
Really, I think the Jews need to go to Israel. If I can have the chance today, in my age, to go back to Israel, believe me, I go to Israel and don't spend my time out of Israel. This is my opinion, because Israel is Israel, and this is the safety place from all the Israeli. Even that I have 45 years outside, I live with some problem, but I wish that I can go back to the Israel. That's what I can say.
What do you mean you wish? You can't? Obviously you can go back. What holds you?
72 tomorrow.
No, that's your age, okay? But what holds you from going back to Israel?
What am I going to do in my age there without nothing? Oh, to live in Israel, you need to be rich. This is a rich country. Without money, you cannot do nothing in Israel. It's very difficult. I have my brother there. I have my sister there. They tell me everything what happened there. It's very difficult. You need money to go to live there.
Moti, we've been talking because I see the things on the end of what Panama looks like. I'm just wondering, what do you see about what's going on in Toronto and for Jews there?
I don't take a chance. All the history about all our people, I don't take a chance. I leave right away. Why to take a chance? Maybe it's going to be better. No, you sleep. You think about it. No, go as is more quick that you can. Without we go. But the Muslims don't know nothing. Only they know the knife and to kill you. That's what they know.
That's what I mean, and maybe you could see, this is what I mean, is that we don't see it because we're in it, like a bad marriage, until you're out of it. So when I ask someone like Moti, who sees it from an abstract view, he sees the things that we don't see in it. And that's something that I think that as Toronto Jews, we should hear from other people that aren't in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay, Moti Shuv. Thank you very much again. Mandy, it was a pleasure to get to know you, the woman behind that viral post.
Write my name, Moti Chen Panama, in internet, and you have a lot of story about me.
Moti Chen, H-E-N, right? Or C-H-E-N?
H-E-N.
H-E-N. Moti Chen Panama. We'll get to you. Don't worry. We'll get to you. And if they won't, I'll help them. Moti, thank you very much.
Okay.
Mandy, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
When you come to Panama, let me know.
Absolutely. And Happy New Year to both of you. Toda rabba.
New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.